Bonjour à tous. Welcome to Reid Hall, home of the Columbia in Paris programs in Paris, France. Today I'm going to be telling you about my experience here as a program participant this semester. My name is Lily. I go to school in New York at Columbia College, but I've been spending my fall semester here, and I'm so sad that it's coming to an end. So hopefully this walkthrough today will give you a better sense of what it's like studying here. So every day when we come in, we say bonjour to the people in the lobby, to our wonderful receptionists, and also we check our bags here. Bonjour. Don't have any bags right now, so we can skip this step. And then if you take a look over at the receptionist area, you can see these beautiful vases. Reid Hall is decorated with a lot of beautiful artifacts. If we come along this way, we can see a really pretty display of porcelain as well. So right now we're gonna go up to Brune's office. Brune is the director of Reid Hall, and ask her a little bit more about the art that we see all around campus and a few other questions. Bonjour, Brune.
Bonjour, Lily.
May we ask you a few quick questions?
Of course,
really
go on
quickly?
in. Have a
Thank
seat.
you. So you are, sorry.
No, so you're coming to my office where there's a big empty space now. There used to be a couch here,
Oh,
and it has
really?
been removed, and we're going to put a table here just so you don't have an empty space.
That's exciting. This is a beautiful office, though.
Oh, thank you.
Really stunning.
Thank you, Lily.
So you are the director of Reid Hall. It's
Exactly.
a very big role. And I know you've done a lot of research on the extensive history of Reid Hall.
Right.
Since this is a little bit of a quicker kind of chat, could you tell us something that you found surprising about the history of Reid Hall when you first learned it that you'd like to share?
Of course. I mean, really, basically, there's no history. That's the thing that was so surprising. There was no history of this place, and there are no archives, so to speak, in this particular place for that. So in order for us to be able to construct the history of Reid Hall, we had to really dig deep into newspaper sources, biographies, correspondence, go to archives at other places. And so in the reconstruction of that history, actually, what we discovered that was also surprising is that much of this place was run by women for women. So that's something that was really very, very interesting to discover. And another thing that was really interesting to discover was that Reid Hall went through so many different transformations that it's understandable to some extent that, there are no extant archives. And also there's no extant archives because women's history is often put on the back burner of, the historical record, right? So, I mean, so all those things were really surprising for us. One of the things that we should all know is that Reid Hall, that the place that we now call Reid Hall, went through many transformations, as I mentioned. The first being that it was a porcelain factory. You probably saw the porcelain downstairs that we've collected. That then after that, it was an orthopedic center. Who would know? Then after that, it was a Protestant school for young men. Then it became, it was taken over by Elizabeth Mills Reid, who became the big benefactor for Reid Hall for years and years and years until she died. And she's the one who really created the Girls' Art Club, which was a really wonderful place for young women who were coming from the United States to France to practice their art. So, it began as a residential area for these young women. And when the war came on, all the women left and it was transformed into a military hospital, right? So, okay. And she's the one who funded all of that. So when she transformed it into a military hospital, she also invited the Red Cross to come in and be headquartered here. And when the war finally ended, she decided to transform this place into an American University Women's Club. So that women who were really developing a lot of, interest in academia back in the United States could come and meet with other women from all over the globe, in a sense. So, then another war came on and the place was transformed, and it was again transformed so that it could welcome the what do you call them, the École Normale Supérieure de Jeunes Filles de Sèvres. They were here. They stayed here until 1947, and then it became the study abroad center that it is nowadays, right? And when finally they decided through all sorts of, different kinds of meetings, especially the Reid family met with people back in the United States, finally decided to gift the place to Columbia University in 1964. And the rest is history, right?
Thank you for that overview. I remember you speaking about that a little bit earlier in the semester. Yeah. It was very early in the semester, actually. Yeah. It explains why there's such a unique feel here. And I'm glad you guys have kept up the legacy of helping women. I know you guys have a lot of partnerships with women's colleges still.
Yes, absolutely.
And you guys love art. You celebrate the history of Reid Hall, the history of Paris, of France, and I'm glad that you guys are teaching that to students like me. I feel like my perspective has broadened so much by being here. And just one second question. Yeah. So you touched on the fact that Reid Hall was a porcelain factory, and there's some things downstairs that kind of help remember that. But overall, could you tell us about maybe one or more, if you want, of the paintings or sculptures that you could find around campus?
So my whole idea is to be able to bring back some of the historical objects into Reid Hall, right? So that's why I've been buying whatever I can find. So now my big hope is to be able to find some of the artwork that many of the women who were residents here were able to make, right? And you can find some still on the market. We only have like 3 left from those days. One is hanging in the library, the one that you probably see.
Yes.
It's like the central piece of the library. Mm-hmm. And that one was done by someone that we found out was called Blondel Malone, who, like many of the other women at Reid Hall, really showcased that gate that used to mark the end of the property before it was transformed by Elizabeth Mills Reed. So that's a really, I think, a very important find for us. And then the other one is when you walked into Reid Hall, you probably saw these 2 sort of vases that are near the reception area. Those really are very fundamental because they mark Reid Hall's importance to French-American relations, because they were given by the French government to Reid Hall as a gift, thanking them, for all of the work that they did in French-American transatlantic relationships. So those are examples. There are many others that I could mention.
Even just in your office, I feel like there are a lot of beautiful pieces of art.
I've taken everything that used to be historical and put it in here. No, this place used to have these beautiful salons. It was really always an extremely sort of like very elegant kind of place. And unfortunately, we had to transform it into offices. And so everything that used to be a bunch of salons, right, with all of this great furniture, that was often donated to Reid Hall at the time, now is, a bunch of offices. But it's still, I think, one of the things that we've always wanted to do is to maintain the spirit of the place.
Yeah.
And to kind of see it as a third space, where all sorts of different things can happen.
Well, thank you, Brune. That was very inspiring. I feel like I learned even more than I understand Reid Hall so much better, even just from this short conversation.
I really
There's so much to learn.
I appreciate the fact that you've decided to do this for students, because oftentimes students don't even get to see my office.
Right.
Like nobody knows I exist.
Oh, you're so integral to the functioning of this entire campus. So, yeah.
Thank you, Lily. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brune.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. And now we're gonna take a walk down this beautiful glass corridor. And if you take a look out the windows here, you can see the cute little courtyard that Reid Hall has, as well as the cafe down there and other departments here. And if you take a look here, these 2 beautiful yellow tinted windows are called the Honey Windows by British artist Kate Doughty. And you can see them from the outside as well. They're very, very beautiful. So, let's head over to the UGE offices now. So first up is Andrew, who is the program coordinator for
Lily.
hello, who was the program coordinator for the English program for Columbia in Paris. So can we ask you just 2 quick questions?
Of course, yeah, happy to answer.
So you did actually go to Sciences Po, and there's clearly a very great partnership between Sciences Po and Columbia. So what, in your opinion, is so valuable about this that you believe that people in your English program should also be able to take classes at Sciences Po?
Well, I mean, one of the big strengths of Sciences Po, particularly for our students that come from Columbia, is the diversity in the student population there. You're going to be taking classes with people from everywhere. You're going to be able to take classes in all sorts of subjects. And you're going to have what I like to say is a familiar yet unfamiliar experience where you experience kind of a French university, which is quite different from what you experience in the US, which will help you to grow. But a lot of the things are kind of will be familiar in terms of the content and the types of classes that you're taking. And so all in all, it's a really holistic and positive experience.
Yeah, for sure. I remember we talked about this a little bit, but one of my classes at Sciences Po was actually, it was 30 students, but I was the only American, so it was super, like, I hadn't experienced anything like that before, but at the same time, we, like, had really enriching conversations about the class topics, so definitely agree with that. And then, regarding the program, what was one of your favorite events that you coordinated or helped coordinate this semester?
Yeah, so I coordinate the English track with the exchange with Sciences Po, and I also work on our public events here at Reid Hall. And so I'll give you 2 quick answers to that. My favorite thing that we coordinated with our students, and specifically for our students, was excursion to the Champagne region. We did a day-long trip where we did a tour of a vineyard and the tour of the cathedral at Reims, as well as a champagne tasting. It was awesome. And then my favorite public event that we coordinated was actually an event series with one of the faculty members at the Institute for Ideas and Imagination, Professor Walter Frisch, and we did a series of movie screenings on the films of Jacques Demy and Michel Legrand, which were fantastic. So check out our public programming in addition to our academic programs.
Yeah, for sure. There's always so much going on, whether that's like through the program itself, even in a different city like Rennes, and also stuff going on campus all the time.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Exactly.
Andrew.
Thanks, Lily. See you soon.
We'll see you later. And now we're going to stop by Sam's office, who is right next door. Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. So we just stopped by Andrew. You might have heard us.
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, are the coordinator for the French Immersion program here, where all the students take their classes entirely in French, which is definitely a very immersive experience. So what do you think is so special about like a study abroad student going to another country and taking their classes entirely, in a different language?
Yeah. I think for language learning, immersion is so essential as part of the process. There's so much you can learn in the classroom, in terms of vocabulary, grammar, rules, things like that. But so much that you just don't get when you're sitting in a classroom, around a table. And so I think that the study abroad experience is really that experience summed up, meeting native speakers of French, for example, meeting people your own age who speak French. And, it allows you to meet people who are not just French, I should say, who live in Paris, but who come from other French-speaking countries, and to give you that perspective on the language and, just to practice it every single day and in every exchange that you have.
Yeah. Everyone I know who's done the French program has learned a lot, and it definitely can be a challenge coming here at first, I think, especially when you don't know what your own level is compared to other students, but from what it sounds like, it's been great, and people have learned a lot.
I definitely think it is intimidating, but I mean, even for you English track students, learning French here at your own level, I think is really helpful than maybe learning on campus in the US somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so we just asked asked Andrew the same question, but what was your favorite event that you coordinated or helped coordinate this semester?
So I heard Andrew said 2 answers. I'll give 2 answers as well. One is a mixer that we do every semester between our undergraduate students, the Columbia Masters in History and Literature students that are here for the year, and the fellows at the Institute for Ideas and Imagination. And so in the fall, we organize a lunch where we force you all to mix together and talk with one another. And I think it's a really great opportunity to show like that Reid Hall is not just undergraduate students, it's not just researchers, and to allow you the opportunity to mix with each other. So that's one event. And then the other one, which I love, which we do almost every semester, is a day trip to Giverny, which is where Claude Monet's house and gardens are, where he painted a lot of his most famous work. I have a background in art history, so personally I love it. And I think for a lot of students, they've never been there, so it's always amazing to just watch them, you know, discover the scenery and the landscape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally remember that first lunch that we all did.
Yeah.
Because Reid Hall is not just Columbia and Paris. It's like there's a lot of like kind of groups here.
Yeah.
So that was a really great way. You like seated us all mixed together at like different tables with assigned seats, which was scary, but like it was honestly it was a good idea. And then Giverny was amazing too. I remember Séverine explaining how Monet like envisioned the garden first in his head before building it. And I actually just did my project on Monet. And it was just, I got to like reflect on what we actually saw at Giverny to put that presentation together, which was so special.
Yeah, which is, again, I think part of like what we try and do with the program is make it not just in the classroom, you know, you're learning everywhere, and you know that trips and things like this can be part of your learning experience too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you, Sam.
Thanks
we
for
won't
coming
bother
by,
you
Lily.
too much longer.
It was really good to see you.
Good to see you too.
A bientôt.
A bientôt. Okay, so last but not least, before we go to the student lounge, we're going to stop by Séverine's office. And Séverine is the entire Colombian Paris program director. Hi, Séverine.
Oui, bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va? Can we ask you a few quick questions?
Oui, pas de problème.
So we just stopped by Andrew and Sam's office, and they each gave us a little bit of an overview on the English and French tracks. But could you give us a broader overview of what Columbia and Paris is in general and kind of what programs are offered here?
With great pleasure, Lily. I think, what do I say at orientation? I say you open the blue doors and it's like entering a house. It's a community, right? And so I think that what Columbia in Paris is, it's really an opportunity for any student who's interested in France, the Francophone world, Europe, its relations to the world, global issues, to come and study abroad, either for a semester, an academic year, or a summer session. And really, Charlotte, hello, behind the camera.
Yes, Charlotte is behind the camera.
There's an opportunity for everyone, regardless of if you have any French background or not. During the summer, we offer opportunities for non-French speakers to take global core classes, Black France, abolitions and slavery, courses in the sciences, in theater, translation, you name it, we have it. And for those who are interested in having a little bit of a longer experience and have no French background, the fall is a terrific opportunity. And then all year long, you can do French in Paris.
Yeah, because it's not just Columbia and Paris fall. It's like, I've heard a lot about the summer program here as well, where you can take your core classes here, like in the spring as well, you know, it's just year round, as you said.
The summer, Lily, is booming. The summer is booming. We have hundreds of students here in the summer.
Yeah, wow.
It's absolutely wonderful. But the fall is terrific too.
Fall is really
Especially,
nice.
I feel, for a student who's it may be their first time going abroad, leaving home, their state, even asking for a passport. Sometimes that can be, a first step, and that can be a little bit intimidating. But the fall is precisely, I would call it the cozy easy program, right? Because it's a little bit shorter in length.
Yeah.
It's a little bit smaller in size. So it's about intimacy, it's about community, and forming strong ties. And hopefully make you want to stay here forever and ever.
Oh, yes. I've said this before. I wish I could stay another semester, but I need to graduate on time. And then one last question.
Yeah.
So what do you hope, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you hope in general that students can take away from their experience here?
It's a very, very good and
If you
very
had to
wise
say a
question.
couple things.
What does it say here, Lily?
Amour.
Amour. Love. Lily, without love, nothing great will ever be accomplished in the world. So what I would like for students to take out of this program is love. Why? Because love is empathy. Love is, opening yourself to being vulnerable, and that's uncomfortable. It's about being weak and okay with it, but ultimately it's about strength. And so I want students to have a love of study, a love of learning, a love of books, a love of truth, a love of knowledge, a love of self, and empathy towards oneself and also towards others. Encountering a different culture is so important. I believe every student should go abroad. Of course, France would be great, come here.
Yeah.
But just anywhere in the world. Because, confronting yourself to a different culture is a learning experience about who you are, about your identity, but it's also uncomfortable to encounter otherness, and we love to talk the talk of how we're good at adaptation, but we're good at adaptation in theory, but not in practice.
It's
and
tricky.
So we have to practice, encountering difference and loving it. Learning to love it. It's the hardest thing, Lily.
Aww.
It's the hardest thing.
Thank you, Séverine. That was so inspiring. If it makes you feel better, I definitely have been reflecting on some of the things you've touched on, like before we talked about this.
Oh, good.
So,
what has been good for you this semester?
oh my gosh, I feel like so I've kind of learned French since kindergarten, not very deeply, but I've been exposed to it, so I've always wanted to come to Paris. And there's just something about taking classes at Reid Hall and Sciences Po that has just broadened my vision so much. Like my city diplomacy class, I now understand how much goes into like a city's culture and like how much goes into governing a city, like Paris itself. Throughout history, I feel like I just see French art so differently, and I see how it really reflects like people at that time and like how much society changes through that. And then at Sciences Po, I've met so many international students, and it's just, I don't know. It's been great. It's been about love.
And it's been about love, yes. And Lily, I really like that you mentioned city diplomacy, and I think it's so important. Sometimes we focus on the big players, the countries, the big organizations, and we forget about our local communities and the power that cities have to change things and to collaborate and work with each other, right? And there are different size cities, and I think that's what you learn in your course.
Yeah, there's
no small player. Everybody's contributing.
Definitely not.
And in art history, don't you go to the museum every week?
Yes. So we've gone to the Louvre, Musée d'Orsay, et Musée Gustave Moreau.
J'adore. The Musée Gustave Moreau is a little bit like my office.
Yes.
There's
a little bit of a smaller one.
There's stuff everywhere.
It feels like a secret, but I feel like now it's not so much of a secret.
Wow.
Okay. Is that all set for now?
I think
set?
so. Did you meet Leopold? I have lots of little comfort animals in my office.
Leopold.
Because I believe that we don't exist alone in the world. We exist with animals.
Aww.
And so I can't have a real frog or a dog. Or
you do have a lot of
rabbit.
animals in here.
This is a pink rabbit that a former student gave me.
Which one?
Yes, my little
Oh
pink
my
rabbit
gosh.
that's lovingly looking at the dog. Yeah, voilà.
Oh.
And I have a camel.
Wow.
I have an elephant who's really cool. He's wearing
Just
a
like
funky glass.
Rosa Bonheur, who loves her
And I have works
animals.
of arts by former students.
Wow.
Look at this.
Oh, this is so sweet.
Bueno, so the students are in the office all the time, even when they leave. I think I have to say goodbye. Goodbye. So long. Farewell.
Bye, Séverine. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Thank you for
I'll see
stopping
you
by.
later.
Thank you, Charlotte's behind the camera.
Okay, so that was the last UG office, and now we can head down this hallway to one of my favorite rooms on campus, which is the student lounge. A lot of students come here between classes to study or just to relax for a little bit. And Miss Jen is here. Hi, Jen.
How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good.
What are you up to?
Editing a couple photos. If you're into the Hunger Games,
Wow, where is that?
that's actually right outside of Paris, like an hour away, and students can just like take a train to go
Yeah.
see the set, basically. But yeah, a lot of fun trips outside of Paris.
Yeah, there have been. We talked about Giverny and Reims,
Oh,
which we did
yeah.
earlier this semester.
Yeah.
Those were so fun. Jen is also a photographer. Do you want to tell them a little bit about your photos?
I feel like I really got to do a lot of that creative end of myself here in Paris. Fashion Week was a fun thing. Going to different places in Paris. I can show you guys a couple photos too while we're going through it. So there's the Eiffel Tower.
Beautiful.
While it's twinkling. I was walking past it and I was like, you know what? I might as well take a photo. So that happened. And here's the town Van Gogh was in, actually.
That's stunning.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
and
So
it's Christmas time.
So Christmassy.
So Christmassy, very festive. But yeah, a lot of fun little things as a photographer. But yeah.
So, although I am a student, you are also a student.
Okay.
So I'd like to ask you some questions
Okay.
about being a student here. So what has been your favorite Reid Hall class here and why?
That is a good question.
Or one of your favorites. I know it's hard to pick. You can talk
I
about
think
more than one.
city diplomacy is a great class. I think the professor is extremely enthusiastic and knows so much about city diplomacy. And I feel like when you're in that class, you learn so much. And I feel like as a student who's studying economics and isn't really related to city diplomacy, I feel like I've definitely got a different like scope on what exactly can I learn and that different perspective that I feel like you can only find here in Paris.
Yeah, definitely. City diplomacy is a great class.
What is
It's
it?
also small. It was only six.
Six of us? Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe
6
so.
of us.
Yeah, so it's like an intimate setting, I would say.
It was super
Yeah.
intimate this semester. And then second question and last question, what's been like your favorite extracurricular activity here? So basically like your favorite thing to do outside of class.
That is a great question. Okay, so I am obsessed with baking, and so I feel like everyone knows that Paris is very well known for their boulangeries, their bakeries, and I've been going around town looking for the best croissant, and I can't say that the best croissant is Maison d'Isabelle, and there's like a little market in the front sometimes, so you can pick up other things if you pick up your €1 croissant. But yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Jen. That's a lot coming from her. She's a very talented baker. I can attest to that. Okay. Well, won't bother you too much longer.
No, you guys weren't bothering me.
Hope.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hope to see you later. I'll see you, Jen. So now if we head up these stairs, we have the library at Reid Hall, which is right here. We're not gonna go inside right now because it is final season and we don't want to disturb the students who are studying in there right now, but it's a really gorgeous space and I've definitely spent a couple of hours in there this semester. And also, Reid Hall is home to Yuki, which is our beloved cat here. She's 19 years old. She's adored by everyone, and you can also follow her at Yuki Stan Club on Instagram. She's not in there right now. She usually lives in there and sleeps in there, but we're gonna try to find her before the end of this. Okay, so now we're gonna check out something very cool and exciting, which is Reid Hall's brand new recording studio for students. It opened very recently, so it's really a brand new addition to Reid Hall, but it will be open to students starting next semester. And if we walk in here, this is the green room where people can sit and chat a little bit and kind of plan out their projects. And then if we walk in here, this is the studio itself. It's not fully furnished yet, but you can see they have microphones set up, and this is a place where people can record podcasts, work on their creative projects, and overall hopefully offer students a creative outlet. And I wish I could be here next semester to use this, but I'm very happy for the students who get to do this in the future. So now we're gonna head to the Reid Hall Cafe called La Caféothèque. But before that, we're actually gonna pass two of the places where Reid Hall hosts a lot of its public events. The first of which is La Grande Salle, which is a very beautiful venue. So here you'll find orchestra performers. We'll have film screenings. We'll have speaker events. It's very echoey. It's a beautiful, beautiful room. And now we're going to walk over to the second main place where we host a lot of our events, which is called La Salle de Conférence. So this is La Salle de Conférence, and it's actually set up for a speaker event that we're going to be having later today. They often hold speaker events. We also had a pumpkin carving activity for students here, just another multi-purpose room that we've been able to hold a lot of the events that Andrew and Sam touched upon earlier. So now we can actually go to La Caféothèque. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So this is Amanda. She works at La Caféothèque. She's loved by everyone at Reid Hall.
I hope.
Yeah. Prepares delicious coffees every morning. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, though?
Okay, so I'm Amanda, as everybody has said. I'm from South Africa, and I'm a barista here at La Caféothèque in Paris. I've been a barista for a year and 6 months right now, so it's been really great. I've learned so much with La Caféothèque because this place is basically a school for coffee. So we have we have workshops for baristas. We have coffee tastings, which they call café dégustation. We also have a roasting room, and we roast our coffee in-house. So when you come here, you'll see that it's on the other side.
Let's go take a look. This is probably one of the coolest rooms I've ever been in.
Yes, unfortunately right now the coffee is not roasting. That would have been cool. But this is where we roast our coffee. This is our big machine. And this is what comes out of it. You know, some coffee beans. We also sell coffee beans. So if you come here and want to go home with some coffee beans, let us know. You can grind it up to whatever coffee filter or method that you use. So it's really fun. It's really amazing. It's all coffee.
Do you have a favorite among these?
So mine, it's a little biased only because it's the coffee. It's the first coffee I roasted when I was doing my course, and I also used to make my method of coffee. So it was my kind of lesson. It's the mpanga from Burundi. It's currently empty, but it is so good. It's very sweet. It's fruity. You taste some
Delicious.
sweet potato, some banana plantain. It's very, very amazing. And then I'm also a big fan of the Don Gerardo from Guatemala. It's notes of pistache. It's it has the classic Guatemala acidity to it. So yeah, it all depends on the day and the palate, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's why there's so many, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the day. Okay, well thank you so much,
Thank
Amanda,
you so
for
much,
letting us stop
Lily.
by.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, have a good day.
See you around. Thanks.
Bonjour, Séverine. Here for a snack. There's always a lot of kind of homemade foods here. You never know what to expect. I come in here and it's something different every day.
But the
Croissants are delicious. And then this is where a lot of people will sit and either eat or do work. Just a little sitting area here. So that concludes our Café Tech stop, and our final stop of this little walkthrough is going to be the garden itself. So as you can see, there's lots of leaves on the ground. It is fall right now, but earlier this semester was actually quite hot. Like, I remember it being over 90 degrees Fahrenheit for almost a week. So the weather's definitely changed a lot. That's been a really beautiful part of fall semester. But yeah, right now it's empty. During the summer, I remember there were students out here all day doing work, just chatting. It's a very, very nice little courtyard. Just a super nice way to relax between classes and during your free time. And that concludes our walkthrough tour. So thank you so much for following along with me today. I hope you learned a little bit more about Reid Hall and got more of an accurate sense of what it's like being on campus here. You can see kind of the campus from a very nice view here. You can see the buildings surrounding and building this beautiful courtyard. So I hope you also get the chance to study at Reid Hall. Again, it's been a super transformative experience for me, and I just wish that you could experience the same thing and come see what Reid Hall is all about. Thank you guys. A bientôt.